Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rock and Roll Podcast. Check out this record. My name is Mark, and with me, as always, is my good buddy Frank.
Hey, Mark. I just want to say hello to the wife and kids, my sis, her husband, my aunt, my uncle, my cousin in New Jersey, my other cousin in New Jersey, and most importantly, my accountant.
Yet listeners who play along at home, like Frank's wife, kids, sister, her husband, his aunt and uncle, his cousin from New Jersey, his other cousin from New Jersey, and most importantly, his accountant, know that you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music, or wherever else you can possibly find podcasts.
That's right, Mark. New episodes drop to your ears every Friday, and of course, for your listening pleasure. Although, Mark, this is the last of the calendar year, and we will be back with big bangs in 2 weeks, my friend.
This is true. We will be back big and banging. You know, for people joining us here, the last episode of what we're kind of calling season one, I don't know what this is. This is the podcast where Frank and I recommend albums for each other and review them. We've had a wide variety of musical discussions, like our Spotlight series, where we dig into a band's catalog and see what comes out the other side.
We're in our Versus series, Mark, where we pit two albums against each other, sometimes three, and they duke it out for total stereo domination.
Good job, buddy. I like that one. That was good.
Thank you, man.
So be sure to check us out on Instagram and our Facebook group, which we promise we'll probably use during the break. We like to drop additional content that'll hopefully leaving you wanting a little more Frank's musical goodness and some of my random nonsense, you know, like memes I steal and stuff like that. If you want us to check out, just drop us a comment wherever you find us. While you're at it, subscribe and give us a review and a rating or whatever it is people do on the internet. So I say this, Frank.
Yes, Mark.
Hey, my man.
I'm good, bro. So then with this being episode 51, not Area 51, episode 51. I guess this wraps up the first season. That could work out, though, so to speak, of this venture. Last week, listen, it was intense with the Nirvana and Kurt Cobain stuff. And big props to you, my man, for really doing a great job. So applause right there, man. And we're going to lighten it up, actually, in this episode, because we got a new album by a band we adore, the new Red City Radio album, Paradise, on deck. And stay tuned, of course, for our year-in review at the end, which includes our picks for best albums. And we got some news, right, Mark?
That's right, Frank. If you haven't had a chance to peep the new Red City Radio album, Paradise, pause this real quick. About 40 minutes or so. Go check that out, give it a listen, and then come back. You'll be happy you did. Because you're going to want to play along for sure. Frankie, before we get into Paradise, why don't we start off with some of that news I stole from the MTV News trash can? Because they don't broadcast the news anymore. They just write it and throw it away. In a segment I like to call, check out this record. Excuse me, I totally screwed that up. Check out this rock and roll news. Look, it's the end of the season. I'm exhausted. It'll be fine.
Absolutely. So speaking of season, Mark, it's the holiday season and whoop-de-doo and Hickory Dock and Mark, John freaking Bon Jovi ruined my favorite Christmas song. And it's really upsetting me, Mark. So tell everyone about the news you informed me about last week.
Well, longtime listeners of the show have complained that I complain too much about how awful Bon Jovi is. However, it looks like the world's finally catching on to what a piece of trash he is by butchering the Pogues' classic and Frank's favorite, Fairy Tale of New York. I have to say, I knew it would be bad, but this thing stinks with a capital P-U, man. Plus, I feel kind of bad because I did know that this was one of Frank's favorite songs when I saw it, and I knew that it would ruin his day when I sent him the link. So I'm sorry, buddy. Now, join me as we raise pitchforks against Pretty Boy, loser, and pride of the New Jersey sewer system, Bon Jovi.
Oh, God, where to begin? That's right. So not only does he ruin our ears with his generic and uninspiring original music, but now he has taken the Pogues classic, Fairy Tale of New York, and it's absolutely appalling. It has no character whatsoever like the original. He's even trying out an Irish accent while singing it on certain lines. Listen, as of earlier tonight, so far it has 5,000 almost 6,000 thumbs down and only 1,400 thumbs up on YouTube. So look at that. Look at that disparity right there. Steve Lillywhite, who produced the song and was married to Kirsty MacColl, who tragically she passed away in a boating accident some years ago, said the following: "This is the worst ever version of the song. Sorry, John. Embarrassing and pointless." Damn right it's pointless. Listen, I don't care that he changed the obvious lyric or he even covered it. The fact is, this is just the worst rendition, and it's indicative of Jovi because it has no heart. And I'm so aggravated by this, Mark. I'm so mad.
Yeah, I'm not even a Pogues fan, and I'm offended. It's not that he changed a few lines to be sensitive. I think, 2020 being what it is, it's the best thing he did was make the correct choice in editing the lyrics to fit a modern era, right? But the rest of this thing is inexcusable. If you're buying Bon Jovi Christmas albums, by the way, this is your fault. All right? Remember that when you give that turd your hard-earned money, he's going to do dumb shit with it. Anyways, in case you couldn't hear the dump trucks full of cash backing up to Bob Dylan's house, why don't we take a moment to discuss how he finally sold out?
Yeah, this is crazy news too, right? And it's funny because I sent the screenshot to you, Mark, but you and my wife sent me this honestly a minute apart from each other. It was so funny. So listen, 600 songs at what they're saying to be 400 million. Man, that's insane. Plus he owned the copyright for the songs on the band's first record, music from Big Pink. So The Weight, he owned The Weight. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, good for Bob. Listen, he's 80, and when he passes, and I'm not saying that's anytime soon, then it's easier to divide up what's left as opposed to sorting through the ownerships of songs, which I could imagine could be sticky for family. Listen, plus living in California, and I'm sure the hefty taxes coming this way with the new administration, it's dollars and cents. And that makes sense to me. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, there's been some speculation about why now, right? But I'm with you, man. I can't think of a reason not to take a check for 400 million smackers, dude. Thinking back on our episode of Rough and Rowdy Ways, I'm seeing this as his way of signaling he's cashing in his chips, he's calling it quits. But that's 100% speculation on my end. I'd love another record, especially based on the last one. But I think, and Frank, tell me if you disagree, I think this is it.
I mean, based on all those things you said and the tone of the record, the theme of the record, and then you hear this, one would think, hey, listen, yeah, he might perform when COVID's over and all that stuff here and there, but maybe that's it as far as records goes. There's a case to be said for that, and I think I think there is a case to be said, and we'll see how that goes. And Mark, I'm amped to talk about this new Red City Radio album, Paradise, Mark. Oh, look at that. We both have it. I have mine courtesy of Mark. Mark has Mark's courtesy of Mark's. Look at that. Man, I am so excited, Mark. Do you want to chat about this band a little bit and how we got to this record? I mean, in their career?
Yes, absolutely. I just spilled a soda, so I apologize.
Oh, not on the record, right?
Oh, no. While moving the record.
Okay.
How did we get here for this band? I just, certainly there's a lot to get to. I'm proud to say this was a band you caught wind of and were kind enough to insist that I listen to them. Excuse me. I've been blown away with their ability to write really catchy tunes without taking themselves entirely too seriously.
Yes.
Why don't we start with a little how you found them, where we got them, how did we come to this radical?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that about, throughout the 20 something years and with us, Mark, that we could just like suggest bands to each other and we then kind of cling on to them that way. And I first caught wind of these guys by I think just trying to find bands like Gaslight around that 2008-9 range, because as you know, I was really obsessed with them. And Liz, I liked what I heard. I liked the Sons and Daughters of Woody Guthrie EP, and I liked the Dangers of Standing Still LP. And I thought they had that single long punk style, but it was a higher tier quality for them. Then the album titles came out and I was like, okay, listen, you got two singers here, but there's one to me that obviously has more talent and should be front and center. And that guy is Garrett Dale. He's a crooner, man, and just a cool cat. I heard him on the Mike Herrera podcast and he's just a chill dude.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. He's so chill.
Yeah, just awesome dude. Anyway, then the second singer, Paul, left the band and they released a self-titled in 2015. And I was blown away by that album, especially by the song Strangers. I mean, what a freaking tune. I absolutely love that tune. And then in 2018, we get the Sky Tigers EP. That came out and I was again blown away. Look, and Mark has the shirt, right? And I really liked how they were now Garrett's band. So I was amped for this new record, Paradise, man. When he told me it was coming out, I was super excited.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing the band's progression, particularly once Paul leaves, right? Once we get to the self-titled album, then into Sky Tigers in 2018, and this year's, I mean, between you and I, much anticipated Paradise, easily my favorite band from Oklahoma City. I'm sure there are some Flaming Lips fans who will think I'm nuts, but that's their problem, honestly. What do you think? You ready to? I honestly, I Googled like for half an hour Oklahoma City bands, and that was the best I could come up with.
There you go. I love it. I love it.
We'll dive into the track by track now?
Absolutely, my man. Go right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. First track, side A. Where does the time go? I can't stress this enough. Play this album really fucking loud. It's 100% worth it, especially as the band kind of ramps you up onto this roller coaster that is this album with its amazing slow burn build. This build up is so great. And I can see where some people go, that's not really a song. That's just a big long intro. Yeah, I don't care. It works so perfectly. We talk a lot about setting the tone of an album and they nail it here. The record, among all other things it can represent, is a loving tribute to rock and roll. And I honestly lost track of time in the grooves of this album because it is so good, and I didn't know where did the time go, where did the record go. This thing just is the perfect catalyst for this record. Where did time go, Frank?
Yeah, I agree with you. I really like the kicking off of this album with this somber melodic bass riff with the constant drum beat. It's so simple, but it's layers deep, right? Think about it. Where does the time go? It can mess with you. Honestly, if you think about it, that statement a little bit too long. Garrett's voice here just fits so well with all the emotion, and you get all the build up, the nice rich sounds of the voices. I personally like intro songs like this because as you just said, Mark, they are setting the tone then for the album. And even though it's a couple lines, who cares? I'm singing the song the whole day the other day, and it just keeps building and building and building. So I love the opening track. Second track, Baby of the Year. Man, this is a good rock song. It's filled with all these cool little riffs, and it's, as you said, Mark, listen to it loud. And what I really thought was clever is then on the second verse, they went up a step and they changed that around and really put the song to another level for me with regards to quality songwriting. Big time replay value for this song for me, Mark. I think Baby of the Year is a really cool tune.
I couldn't agree with you more. I love how direct Garrett Dale gets with his lyrics, right? And I apologize for my singing. Let's not get caught up in semantics. I never needed anything as bad as I need you. Like, just so direct, so powerful. He goes on to paint a picture of losing yourself to the need for love and the struggle to find your way back from that place. Just such a wild idea, such great songwriting to really place you in the narrators. In this case, we're going to assume it's Garrett Dale. Into his point of view and just really get that going. Really fun music video too, if you haven't checked that out. Yes. Track 3 is Did You Know? ? So I'm not going to call this a concept album, but it's amazing how the themes flow from song to song, where Baby of the Year is about getting lost, looking for love. Here he's directly dealing with who he has become now that he's lost himself. Or has he found himself? Super cool track.
Yeah. And I love I got a little money, who cares? You like that? You like that? I love how the song starts off with that. I think certain voices can pull off these lines, and Garrett's is one of them. I can even hear, this is just some vibes I got while listening to this album. I could hear it as a country song for some reason, especially on the verses if they were to change the arrangements around. I dig did you know how wonderful this life can be when you don't give a shit about everything? Especially at the end, these Beach Boys harmonies come in while that's going on. Really cool track. Great. And I love the sequencing too. So that coming after Baby of the Year.
Yeah, big Beach Boy vibes there for sure.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Track 4 is Love a Liar. This song starts off with a Ram Dass quote. I am not too familiar with him, so Mark, maybe you have a little bit more info on him, but from my research, he was a spiritual teacher and a psychologist. The meaning here is I'm not perfect, but there's an underlining beauty. It's a nice, quick, and short tune, and there's nothing much to say about it, but I mean, it's a very enjoyable track. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, so Ram Dass.
Ram Dass.
Famously or infamously, depending on your point of view, for a period of time was known for encouraging people to take LSD to discover themselves and their spirituality. This band likes to party, so it's not a big surprise that they would find influence from Mr. Das. Anyways, for me, the idea of starting a punk song with the idea that this art is garbage and that it is still art speaks to the punk in me in a way that most bands don't want to acknowledge. They don't want to acknowledge the trivialness of the art that they're creating and the disposability of it. So it's really kind of a very cool way to jump into this. Lyrically, Garrett is opening up here. I'm going to read his quote here. Don't you know you shouldn't love a liar, but if you want to take a chance on me, I can show you my heart's on fire. On fire, Frank.
Ooh.
Awesome.
I
love it. Again, really great, simple lines, great little throwback references, right? Heart's on fire. I mean, like this record just has all these little rock and roll nuggets of like, not even like that member berry, like, oh, remember that? I'm going to throw a reference to that in there. Like these genuine, like heartfelt, really smart, really clean callbacks to rock and roll. And, you're going to hear me say it again and again. This record's about rock and roll and how fucking awesome rock and roll is. Anyways.
Love it.
Track 5, Young, Beautiful, and Broke. This was released as a single before the album dropped, and I got so excited. I love the energy of the song. We get these great big choruses that aren't pretty, rather they're honest, they're real, and the kind of lyrics we all wish we could write, let alone pull off singing. He just does an amazing job of speaking honestly in a way that feels genuine and feels relatable.
Yeah, it's so good. I got this kind of replacement super drag intro, but unlike most replacement style bands, it's then doesn't like mimic them, and it's not a complete copy style wise. So that means Red City Radio kind of made it their own, and that shows them pushing their rock with adding of the solos, really giving again this big and vibrant sound. We get some nice keys in the background, which made me think of the Hold Steady, and then a solo with some really well thought out harmonies. You said it, Mark. This album, it's a tribute to rock and roll, man. It's the best way to put it. Track 6, we get 100,000 Candles, another big sounding rock song. To me, we get it's almost an 80s style solo in the beginning. I'm not talking about corny 80s. I'm just talking about stylistically. Why is the world on fire? Hey, good question. And I hate to quote Billy Joel here, but it's always been burning since the world's been turning. But listen, I like the chorus, and it's super contagious, and it's one of those choruses again that I'm going around the house and having that implanted in my head.
Yeah, this song will haunt you with how fucking good these harmonies are. We're down that lonely rabbit hole here again, but we're privileged to being able to hear Garrett work through his fears and anxieties, and comparing a forest full of trees, the old saying, you can't see the forest from the trees, but comparing the trees swaying to 100,000 candles, really beautifully done. It's amazing how he makes the song not about conquering his fears and anxieties, but just rather that he has them and that he's in the process of dealing with them. Really a cool concept. Beautifully executed. Not everything's going to have a finale to it. Not everything has a big payoff. And this is one of those songs that expresses an emotion as opposed to solving a problem. Really, really smart songwriting here. Track 7, the infamous title track, Paradise. So Paradise brings us to the back half of the record. And it's not just, it's just starting to get hot right there, Frank. Look at
Absolutely. Look at the back half of the record. Right, it's hot.
Mm-hmm. Look at 1,000 bands have tried to write a song about leaving their hometown, and almost none of those bands do what Red City Radio does. And that's to admit that they, not only that they miss it, but acknowledge that getting out of there was the best thing they ever could have possibly done. And make it feel genuine and rock all at the same time. The solos rip. Dallas Tidwell's drumming is so clean and tight. It's amazing more people aren't talking about how skilled he is as a musician. He's phenomenal. Every verse and chorus keeps you hooked. This song rocks, man.
Yeah, again, we get a solo here in the beginning, and I appreciate their efforts on the guitar to expand their musical prowess. And it's not just playing chords. It's not just chords and intros. I mean, they're really taking it. This is a great blend of punk influence, rock and roll, and this song I think sways a little bit more to the rock side. And listen, for a band that mostly has 2.5 or 3.5 minute songs, this is where a longer song like this is actually appreciated, and because it's an effort to try new things. I know I gripe about long songs, and you could find all the episodes where I gripe about them, but this is one where I personally don't mind, because this is a conscious effort for them to do something different, and I like that. Track 8, Mark, Edmund Girls. When I told you, Mark, that I really dug this song, you said I knew you would. And that's a testament as to how well you know me. This song has everything in it that I love about rock and roll songs. So what is it? Well, we get nice audible guitars, great melody, awesome harmonies in the background, and a hooky chorus right before the second chorus is fantastic. It's a great example of high quality songwriting. And then we get more soloing, which shows the bands can actually play the instruments. I mentioned the Replacements style earlier, and I can hear that in this track too, but it's way more than that. It's something that I am now thinking is unique to Red City Radio. I absolutely am in love with this song.
Yeah, this is one of those tracks that sums up what makes this band so fucking good. Lyrically smart and still really interesting. Garrett delivers on the vocals, and the band just wails here. This song's, it rips. There's, I can't say enough good things about this song, so I'm going to just say a little bit. We're going to move on to track 9, Doing It for Love. My gut tells me Garrett singing to a few people directly here without naming any of them. And normally I get pretty tired of that. Like I hate like a scene report. I don't need that. But this isn't so much about them as it is about the music, right? Like it's setting up this concept that they're doing it for the love and for the most in the most over the top rock and roll way, because it is just about rock and roll for them. They don't care how big the show is. They don't care how many people are there. They just want to rock. If you've seen footage of them live, you know that to be true. These guys just go out there and do their best to put it all out there. And I know sitting at home right now and not being on stage is eating them alive. Doing It for Love, an amazing example of their love for rock and roll and what it means to them, and they're paying it back by putting it on a record.
Yeah, totally, man. And in the beginning here, I hear even some Thin Lizzy with these dueling riffs at the beginning. Mm-hmm. As you said, as we also talked about, we get Shining on the Metal on the Edge of a Knife, a la Mr. Loaf of the Old Meat. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool to see, again, them tribute these rock acts. And of course, you had some ivory keys in the background, and you just have this awesome sounding music, especially with those harmonies and those dueling, it's at that point where those dueling riffs and the solos meet together. It's it's unbelievable. And this is a fantastic song. Track 10, we get Apocalypse Please. I love the clarity in this song. It just sounds so good loud. I also hear again some hold steady when the piano comes in. The writing here shines with the solos, and we take it back to then just Garrett and the guitar. It's got such a big sound. And if this was the popular music the way me and Mark grew up with it on like in the 90s, where rock was the dominant music, this would be on spin frequently at the radio stations. And this is just a really good track.
I love this wall of sound. I mean, they created it, and it just all stems from this deep breath as the song kicks off and builds to these gorgeous choruses. I'm so taken back by it. There are these super simple rhyme schemes that have the effect of feeling like you've known all of the words your whole life. You just immediately feel like you know every word of the song, and it's an absolute earworm in the best way. It just pops right in there. Plus, they've got all these like doo-wop parts in the back,
yes,
going, and like it's such a rich textural sound. It's absolutely phenomenal. Just put your hands up and let the rock and roll roller coaster put a big fat fucking smile on your face with this absolute gem that might be my favorite track on the song or on the album, excuse me. But the problem is that when I'm listening to this record, every song as it's playing is my favorite song on the record. It's
every song.
Track number 11, Fremont Casino, simple tune, cloaked in mystery, right? I say simple and Frank shakes his head because this is one of those deceptive songs, right, Frank? As a songwriter, you're like, fuck you, man, this song is not easy. It's deceptively simple, you know? But for me, I want to focus on the mystery. Why is he playing Keno? Why is he, I apologize for the rhyme, why is he in a casino? Why is he in Fremont? Why is he sleeping on the floor? Don't be tricked. There is another track after this because it'd be easy to fall into this false sense of security that the roller coaster is easing your way back around to the starting ramp of the song. Because you're surprised. We're on track 11. We've been blowing through this record, but it's so subtle, so clean, and we just get this beautiful piano part and a clap and a bass drum that feels, like the sweetest send off. You feel like the record's ending, right? It has this like, ooh, he's just, he's doing this little ditty about being in a casino and, maybe trying to score some drugs, play a little Keno, and we're just going to fade off. And that's the end of Paradise. And it's so smart leaving this here.
It's another tune I adore. The bare and isolated feel to it that matches the lyrics and what the song is about. Again, I'm going to reference country music here, but if country music really wanted to stray away from the overproduced crap and get back to something that could stretch to a non-country fan, this song would be it. And it's positioned so well at the track before the last tune. All I could say about the song is bravo. Bravo, man. Mm-hmm. And now we got Gutterland, the last track here. It's a nice rocking tune to close things out, clocking in at under 2 minutes. I like how they brought us back. They brought us down for a few tunes, and then they wanted to close things out with something that really cooks. Mark, you have an interesting actually take on this song, don't you?
Yeah, just a few lines from Garrett, and then you get this palm muted guitar. I will get into Frank's. Frank did set me up for that. I do have it. I had a theory. It didn't quite work out, but we'll talk about it.
Okay.
But I do love, kind of back to a few tracks ago where we just start out with Garrett, and then it builds into this palm muted guitar sound, and it builds its way in, and just like, there's a few single notes, and then boom, we're off and running again. That roller coaster hits another turn, and you are just screaming and having a blast. In a song about being responsible for yourself and not letting what other people think of or say get to you, he kills it with this last two lines. They only care what you bring to the table. I bring a fucking chainsaw. Woo. Cue the guitar solo, Frank.
Woo.
It's short, it's punchy. It kind of goes a little bit back to their older days or older roots stylistically, but it fits so beautifully here that it just works awesome. And that last line, big guitar solo, and they're out. I mean, it's such a great way to end this record on a high note, right? We're really talking Paradise. You guys saw the album cover. It's super trippy and fun. We really want to just go out on this big, awesome note. And they do. It's so friggin' cool. All right. So I mentioned it earlier. I thought for a little while, I was really trying to figure it out. I thought they were trying to make a connection between Bruce Springsteen's Jungle Land and this record. And the reason for that being that Jungle Land's the last track on this record. And of course, Jungle Land, Gutter Land. Is he making a comparison between New Jersey and Oklahoma City or somewhere else? What's he doing here? Who is he talking about? What's it for? But then as you kind of look through the lyrics of Gutter Land and you look through the lyrics of Jungle Land, you look at the structures, it doesn't quite line up as nicely as I would hope, other than where they're placed and that they both totally rule. That's kind of, that was my theory. I was hoping that there'd be something a little deeper, and maybe there is. I haven't spoken to famed Red City Radio, I shouldn't say famed, songwriter Garrett Dale to ask him about that. It'd be an interesting idea, but it's probably just one of those theories that as a music fan, you put these pieces in your head together, right? Because you're going, man, this record just sounds like everything I've always wanted rock and roll to be. And look at all these cool references, that awesome Thin Lizzy style riff. You get the, Paradise by the Dashboard Lights reference. You just get all these great guitar solos just rocking out. Is there something there? Maybe I figured it out, but I don't know why. Or like a true rock and roll conspiracy theorist, it just kind of is what it is. And I'm imagining things. But with that said, that's Paradise, my man.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to get Garrett on on the show in 2021 to have him talk about these things. That would be a good goal for us. I'd totally fanboy it out.
So Frank, my man, what a great end of the year listen to a record. You have any final thoughts you want to share on this guy?
Whew. I really love this record. I want to thank Paul Penley for leaving the band and now allowing Garrett to be front and center. Listen, they're one of those bands that I personally see getting bigger and bigger, and a lot has to do, again, with Garrett, and what a great frontman he is for this band. I really like how each album progresses without the quality of the tune suffering. Very important, what I just said. And that will be a constant listen on my record player, that's for sure. I'm in love with this record. Mark, you?
Yeah, look, for those of you smart enough to watch on YouTube, I have the sleeve for the record right here. It's on my record player. There's no record in here.
Look at that. Look at that. It's not there.
It's so awesome. I was pretty blown away by this record. I knew I was in for a treat as the singles were kind of being peeled off and released. But I have to tell you, I was still surprised by how good this whole thing is, how it holds up as a complete album. It's so good. Just so well balanced from start to stop. Lyrically, it's dynamic and holds your attention. The production here sounds amazing. We haven't mentioned, bass player Derek Envy or guitarist Ryan Donovan.
Sure.
No fault of theirs. Ryan is responsible for the most part of some of those really righteous guitar solos. Derek has some great bass lines that strut around the record like a girl's big, beautiful booty you just can't stop staring at. Don't believe me? Check out his skills on 100,000 Candles. Absolutely amazing. And lastly, I think, we've talked about it a little bit here and there, but I really want to drive home the production on Paradise can't be overlooked. It's bright and clean where it needs to be. It's punchy when it needs to be. And they clearly found the right place to build that stunning wall of sound that allows them to blow your speakers with an orgasmic grin on your face, Frank. Listen to this fucking record, world.
Please do. Yes.
That's how I feel about it.
I love it, man. Fantastic. Such a great record. And Mark, as you know, 2020 will go down as a weird year, that's for sure. And we're now going to give, here it is, our year in review best of, and we're super excited about this. So before we get into our top 10 albums of 2020, Mark, let's just open up our Spotify real quick and let's give everyone our top 5 most played songs. Mark.
Absolutely. So Spotify, if you'd like to sponsor this and see this list happen again next year, find us, rate us, and review us on Spotify. Part of what was weird for you and I, anyway, was doing this show. So
yes.
Many, my listening habits were so skewed from my normal, just putting a record on until my ears bleed. because we've really been chasing these new bands and artists, my normal algorithm and what I'm listening to is probably off. But I had a lot of fun this year, and I regret none of it. Honorable mention before I get into my top 5 to the Mad Caddies and their cover of the Misfits, Some Kind of Hate, which came in 6th. I wanted to point that out because I just love that cover. And obviously it came in 6th. I've listened to it a lot this year. At number 5 for me, Dead to Me's Modern Muse. I really enjoyed that song. I really got into Dead to Me this year. Really great stuff. At number 4 for me is Motorhead, the song Slow Dance. I've really, really fallen in love with late era Motorhead. There is some just absolute gems there. If you're not listening, I mean, don't get me wrong, listen to the old stuff. Those first few records are amazing. But look at some of the stuff they did in the 2000s. It'll actually blow your fucking mind. At number 3 for me is The Frights. We did an episode on them. I absolutely fell in love with them. The song is All I Need. Absolutely love that record. Love that band. Really looking forward to what they've got coming out in the future. Number 2 for me is Red City Radio, In the Shadows. Unfortunately, I think if this album had come out at the beginning of the year, this top 5 list would just be the track listing in order. But it was In the Shadows off the Sky Tigers EP. I love that EP. I love that song in particular. I love that they're not even shy about using the quote from The Great Dictator in its entirety. Really cool song. I love the energy. And again, that's one of those, if you put on that self-titled record, you put on Sky Tigers, and then you put on Paradise, you are in for a hell of an afternoon. It's a great time. And, last but not least, and I mean, obviously, number 1, Leatherface, I Want the Moon. Frank and I did an episode on Leatherface very early on in the podcast.
Very early on.
Both of us fell in love with this band. I have not stopped listening, probably honestly until Paradise came out. I listened to it once a week, and now I haven't listened to it since Paradise came out. But I absolutely Mush. Listen, if you're selling it on eBay, if you've got an Amazon thing, if you've got a record store and you've got a copy of Mush on LP, don't worry about how much it costs. Just tell me. I'll give you my credit card information. I get my hands on it, Frank's.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So here are my top 5 Spotify songs for 2020. So number 5 is actually also Leatherface, and I know a lot of that had to do with the album, with the episode that we recorded early on. But I fell in love with the track 2 from Mush, which is How Lonely. I absolutely adore that song. So that was number 5. Number 4 is Vancouver by Jeff Buckley. We did a Jeff Buckley episode a couple episodes ago about his life and unfortunate death. I think that's really, even though that's not from his proper album, the unfinished album, I think that's one of his really shining moments. That's a great song. Number 3 on another episode that we did, She's Kerosene by the Interrupters. I love that album. I love that song. My girls love the song too, so we always listen to it, and that's just a fun song that's always cool to play, and that made number 3. Number 2 is from a B-sides record that Superdrag did called Doctors Are Dead. That wasn't one we covered in the early episode too, because we did Superdrag early on as well. But that's a really cool song, and I like that as a B-side. And number 1 is a song called Broadway by the Old 97s. It's just, the Old 97s, alternative country from the late 90s. They put out a recent album this year too. But yeah, Broadway, that made my list. So those are my top 5 Spotify songs, and those were Mark's top 5 Spotify songs.
Sure.
So Mark, now we gotta. There were some letdowns this year too, and before we get to the top 10 for 2020, of course I can tell you that Bon Jovi put out a piece of crap, but I expected that to be shitty anyway, right? But for me, there's honestly, looking back, the biggest letdowns, I think, honestly, were Bruce's Letters to You, Bruce Springsteen's Letters to You, and Brian Fallon's Local Honey. I'm not questioning the overall effort, but of that particular album, but man, I was let down. Letters to You is just not good, and Local Honey just feels incomplete with some rehashed song structures. Excuse me. Mark, those were my letdowns. Did before we get to our best of, did you have any letdowns as well?
Well, I certainly agree with you on Brian Fallon and the boss there. Otherwise, The Refused put out an EP, which comes to mind. I have a real affinity for The Shape of Punk to Come, and one of my favorite, more underrated albums of theirs, Songs to Fan the Flames of Discontent. So I get very excited and hopeful whenever they release something new. Unfortunately, this, like last year's album, just sound like another band wearing a refused mask, calling it the same thing and sounding like crap. I just didn't dig it. The last couple of releases have been really disappointing. But they're one of those bands that I get excited for because I know the potential. So as everybody knows, I'm a big Descendants fan. Pretty stoked to see Milo Ackerman, lead singer of the Descendants, release a ukulele EP, only for it to be just kind of some really flat, boring protest songs that just kind of sucked. Supposedly, the songs were for an upcoming Descendants album, which we will review as soon as it comes out, if it ever does. But because they were political and pretty pointed about Trump, he wanted to release them sooner, which I appreciate because now they're not going to hopefully be on the next record.
Right.
Milo isn't the best songwriter in the band, right? In fact, he's probably the worst of the four of them, but I like to support him because I like the band, and I was really hopeful that we'd get something really cool out of it, and we just didn't get that. But again, I'm happy he did it here so that it's out of the way, and then hopefully, Carl and Bill will write the next album. Maybe we'll get, we'll get some contributions from Mr. Chad Price, who will sing the album too instead of Milo, and we'll just get another album, and I'll be super happy. So that was kind of my disappointment. Was to see, and the Descendants did do like a Vote For Me song or a vote song that was just kind of like, I understand that you're frustrated and I understand that you want to express yourself and raise consciousness and politically I agree with them. However, that doesn't mean I need to subject myself to boring, uneventful and really.
Well, they're now outdated, like, as of today.
Dated political songs.
Right, immediately outdated.
It's just like, I get it. I know that we're all going to look back in horror at the last 4 years, or at least I will. But it's just not, like, none of those songs are going to do anything to make me feel good about it. What else can I say?
Yeah. And again, to me, it's they're not timeless. That's not going to be timeless as well. So now, how are you going to do that for your next album, right? Is it going to be timeless? Are you going to write about Biden? I personally think you should, because I think it should be open season on anybody, to be honest with you, if you're a true punk band. But let's see where they go. As soon as that album comes out, we'll review it, and then we'll obviously let everyone know if it was timeless. So here we go. Now we're going to get to the top 10 albums for each of us, Mark, for 2020. I just want to preface this with a discovery I made this year, even though there were no 2020 releases. So I bought a banjo recently, and that was because I put on a Tom Waits Spotify, put on a Tom Waits song, and then I hit the old radio option on Spotify, and out came this song from there called Black Soul Choir by a band called 16 Horsepower. I fell in love with it instantly, and I thought this was way before its time for being 1997. I then got into singer David Eugene Edwards' newer stuff by this band Woven Hand, and I just thought it was great, and I'm really happy to discover them. So that was a cool discovery this year, even though they had no releases. Yes, Mark, go ahead.
That's what I wanted to clarify, that neither Tom Waits nor 16 Horsepower or the new band Woven Hand had no releases.
Right.
You, in fact, had no releases this year. There were at least 10 releases for us to cover for this.
Yes.
Not more.
Yeah, I just wanted to preface it with a discovery I made this year, which influenced me to buy the banjo. So I will now get into my list. So we'll alternate, Mark, and here we go. So number 10 for me is Paradise, not the one we just reviewed, but by Cold Ears. So we interviewed Ross, the singer of Cold Ears, for one episode, and then we reviewed their album in another. Listen, I thought it was a great discovery this year, and it's a cool album. It's full of punk-inspired rock, and there's some rock-inspired punk songs too. Good Heart on Your Sleeves feeling. So that came in number 10 for me. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, excellent description of the Cold Ears, by the way. Rock and roll, or punk rock influenced rock and roll influenced punk rock. I really like that description for them. My little honorable mention asterisk here is I really loved the Menzingers from Exile. But since Hello Exile came out last year, and this is basically just an acoustic version of that, obviously done in COVID situation. It's amazing. You should absolutely listen to it. It's well worth your time. However, it's not going to be in my top 10 list for that reason. But for me, number 10 is Bad Cop, The Ride. You know, Bad Cop just gets better and better with every record. I love how aggressive they've gotten. They're not shy. At no point are you going, oh, these girls are afraid to be punked. They wear it on their hearts, they wear it on their sleeves, and they put it out there. They're aggressive and they're awesome. You know, this record shows some of their tightest work and shows how good this band really is, and the potential for them to grow artistically is endless. I really think this band has a ton of possibilities, and we're going to see some really, really phenomenal records coming out of them. This one is great, and it's absolutely worth your time. In the meantime, don't just wait for the next thing. Listen to this one. Really looking forward to what they have in the next year. Frank, you want to do number 10?
Yeah, man. Cool. Absolutely. Number nine. So number 9 is Moonshot by the Lees of Memory, fronted by the lead singer John Davis of Superdrag. This is his new band now. The Lees of Memory released their new album Moonshot this year. I really enjoyed it. It has a lot of sounds similar to the Superdrag album In the Valley of Dying Stars, and it has a lot of nods to Brian Wilson on this album. So it was really cool. Moonshot came in at number 9 for me.
Very nice. My number 9 is Pup. This Place Sucks. It's an EP. You know, a little EP that snuck up on me. I really didn't see this coming. In fact, I saw it in a record store and I went, wait, is that a new Pup record? And he went, yeah, it's an EP. And I went, oh, fuck, how did I miss that? Really great just to be able to turn a record up and get just like all your angst out. I love the way Pup approaches punk rock. Really cool. They're another band. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I can't wait to hear more from them. I can't wait to see what their next record does. And please come to Central Florida. I'd love to see you live when the world's not ending.
There you go. Good stuff. Number 8 for me was Sparta, Trust the River. Or Trust the River by Sparta. Sorry. Listen, the year seems so long that I forgot that this was released back in April. But this was their first album in 14 years. Jim Ward, who we saw Mark on the Revival tour, did a great job of progressing their sound while keeping the quality of the songs very high. It's mature like him, and it's a really enjoyable listen. So the new Sparta record was really good for me.
Yeah, at number 8 for me, Western Addiction, their new album, Frail Bray. Another record that snuck up on me. In fact, I saw the Swinging Utters post that it had dropped and immediately checked it out. I love the growth of this band from the last record to this one. It not only grown in intensity, but they find a way to keep attacking their instruments and really giving it everything they have in just a way that keeps you glued to hear sonically what they're going to do next and how they're going to pummel you with their instruments. I just love the aggression and the tone that these guys get.
Very awesome, my man. Number 7 for me. This one took a while to grow on. It's Imploding the Mirage by the Killers. I initially didn't think this was a good record. In comparison, I should say. What's that?
I still don't.
You still don't to the other Killers records. I listened to it again and had some different environments, and it did grow on me. It's not going to be their first 3 records. It never will be. But that's okay because I viewed it as better than most of the new acts out today. So it did grow on me. And I do enjoy it. So Imploding the Mirage, Killers was number 7.
Nice. My number 7 is the Avett Brothers and the Gleam 3. Hopefully our dear listeners have heard this episode already, and you know how much I love this and why this series from the Avett Brothers worked and really re-inspired my hope for the Avett Brothers that the next record can be whatever it wants to be and be beautiful, unlike the last 2 albums.
Yes, and please listen to that episode too, because I think we did a good job on it. So number 6 for me is Weather by Huey Lewis and the News. This album only had 7 songs on it, but man, it's got that Huey and the News soul in it, man. The songs were recorded before Huey's unfortunate hearing loss diagnosis. It's short and sweet, and it's an ode to the music that he adores from the 50s and the 60s. I was really impressed with it, and I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, again, how long this year feels, I honestly thought that came out last year.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a beautiful record. Definitely, if you love rock and roll, if you like the history of rock and roll and hearing people genuinely pay homage to it, listen to that Huey Lewis and the News record. It is really worth the time for your ears.
Yep.
Number 6 for me is going to be the Lawrence Arm and their new album Skeleton Coast. So this is the record that made me fall in love with the Lawrence Arms. I had, for some reason, an aversion to them, and I couldn't tell you why. I just couldn't get into it. But this record absolutely just caught me. And I've begun working my way through their catalog, and I'm falling in love with more than just the hits, but some of the deep tracks as well. Regardless, Skeleton Coast, we get their signature sound laced with these amazing personal lyrics that, in classic Lawrence Arm fashion, leave the listener trying to figure out what everything or anything means. Just really cool, personal, but mysterious. I'm falling in love every day a little more with the Lawrence Arms.
Yeah, they're a band I think I need to give a little more listen to. I like the track Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And Are You There, Margaret? It's Me, God. Yeah, something. I always forget that one. And then I really liked, it was a B-side off of the Rock Against Bush Volume 2. And then I like Sundowner, which is, a side project from the two. But I definitely want to give them a little bit more of a listen. I say this, of course, when I have the time, but I will try to. Number 5 for me is the album Random Desire by Greg Dooley. His debut, this is a debut album, which is funny because he's had other albums just under different monikers. Singer from the Afghan Wigs. This to me gets better with every listen. It captures his songwriting style with those dark and really morose atmospheres, which I love. So that this is an enjoyable record for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've only given that one spin, but it's really cool, and it definitely, after our Black Lung episode, I could see where a lot of that atmosphere comes from. Really cool.
Yeah.
So number 5 for me, the Suicide Machines and Revolution Springs. In a year full of hot garbage, one of my absolute favorite things has been the return of the Suicide Machines. While I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that'll say this record has no place in anyone's top 10 list, to them I say, fuck you. It's my list. I'm going to do it however the way I want. But listen, it's a great return to form for the Detroit natives. Yes, the lineup is a little different, but the energy that made you fall in love with this band is still there. It's still awesome. This album will get you super pumped to just throw a brick at a big orange dickhead, and I absolutely love it. It's got all that great energy. It does everything you expect out of a Suicide Machines album. That's not that self-titled record, and that's another conversation for another time. But this is a great record. I think it's worked its way into regular rotation with me. It doesn't fall to the bottom of their catalog by any means. It's a solid record. Fingers crossed we get some more.
There you go. And yes, you did say orange.
Oh, I meant to say orange.
No,
I said blick instead of brick.
Yeah. That was awesome. That was awesome. Best moment of the episode. Yeah, best moment of, yeah. All right, so number 4 for me is Ohms by Deftones. That rhymed. I think I pronounced it right. But such an underrated band for all the consistently good stuff they put out. This is heavy hitting and hard, and then really has these beautiful moments. They again take risks, and that pays off. They were and are, to me, the best band to come out of that whole genre way back in the 90s. We don't have to rehash it again between us, but go listen to our Deftones episode. The new album is pretty awesome. So that was my number 4 on the list.
Nice. For me, it's going to be Pears with their self-titled album, Pears. I can't say enough about Pears. They're chasing punk rock in their own direction with absolute reckless abandon, and it totally fucking rules. Pears, the album, pushes their unique melodic hardcore to its own limits, only to continuously push them further and further with each track. Really cool. I get that it's going to take people a little while to get into them, but give them that time. It'll do you good.
There you go. Number 3, Mark. Yep, the album we just reviewed, Paradise. Mark, can we hold it up again, both of us, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful record.
I'll show the back. Yeah.
There you go. Beautiful. Yep, we just reviewed it. You heard why. I adore this record. Go listen to it. Mark, that was my number 3. I bet I know what your number 3 is.
Yeah, number 3, Red City Radio Paradise.
Hey.
We're literally doing this episode right now. It's amazing. This album easily flip-flops between being ranked number 3 and being ranked number 2 for me. We'll get to number 2 in a minute. It just really depends on my mood. It's a great rock and roll album that I can't wait to put on at a party and just rock out. One can dream. It's interesting. This record for me, the end of this year, with how wild it's been, has been so uplifting. I absolutely adore it. I'm almost surprised right now that it's not at 2, but we'll get to that in a minute when after you tell people what your number 2 pick is, Frank.
Sure. Well, it was already on your list, but it's The Gleam 3 by the Avett Brothers. I know it's just an EP, but man, it really surprised me. I'm being honest, I didn't think they had it in them, and that's my fault, my bad. I thought with quite a few produced Rick Rubin records that or very produced Rick Rubin records, that side of them wasn't there anymore, nor did they want it to be. But it's there, and it was damn good. The quality of these songs is unreal, and they proved it here. So that was the Avett Brothers for me. What's your number 2, my man?
Yeah. So number 2 for me is, you heard me talk about it very heavily in the beginning of this year. Again, almost feels like it was from last year. The band is Spanish Love Songs. The album is Brave Faces, Everyone. Early release from the year that Spanish Love Songs found a way to speak directly to like my darkest places and help lift me out of them by reminding me that I'm not alone in those places. The songs are catchy, sad, and beautiful. This is the direction I want punk, but more I want emo to go in. I really want people to develop not just this screaming about how sad they are, but to really learn how to articulate in the way Spanish Love Songs do, because they do a beautiful job of it. Keep it heartfelt and keep it rocking, please. So again, just for me, for number 2 and number 3, Red City Radio, Paradise, Spanish Love Song, Brave Faces, Everyone. Depends on the mood you catch me in, but since Spanish Love Songs was released earlier, I've definitely listened to it more, although I've put hopefully some nickels into the bank account of Red City Radio by the amount I've been listening to the album on Spotify. An amazing record as well. So Frank, why don't you tell them what both of our number 1 pick is for the year?
Here we go. All right, man. So without further ado, our number 1 is Rough and Rowdy Ways by Bob Dylan. I mean, what can I say? This guy's 80, man, and he's making an album like this. It shows that age doesn't matter at all. And again, his ability to do this with his age shows his true talents. The record is beautiful, man. Every song on here is capturing it's a capturing of the random thoughts, dreams, experiences, things we will eventually go through and thoughts we will eventually have. I mean, it's truly unreal. These songs are stories. It takes you on a trip that you will be happy you went on, in my opinion. I love actually later Dylan more than early Dylan, even though I love both, but I always like listening to later Dylan more. This is a prime example as to why, Mark. So Rough and Rowdy Ways, we have an episode on it too. Check that out. I adore this record, Mark. Yeah,
that's another record Frank and I both bought this year, by the way. Definitely a gem. I keep it separated from the rest of my record collection. I adore it. I treasure it like it's a piece of art because it truly is more than just an LP. It's really an amazing record, and I think really we're lucky to have been able to experience it as it happened. So
good.
With that, I'm going to read this next part if you want, Frank. It says it wants me to introduce Paul McCartney. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul McCartney.
Yay!
Oh, wait a minute. I get it. He's not here. Shoot. All right. When we return to the podcast Waves, that's how that works, right? It works on Waves. Friday, January 8th, that's when we'll be back. We'll be reviewing an album neither of us knew was coming. It's called McCartney 3. I'm not terribly familiar with Paul's solo stuff, but I can't wait to dive in and talk about, what the man with the wings, the band on the run, Mr. Paul McCartney has got in store for us. How about you, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, here he is too in his much later years, cranking out these albums. A lot of output by Paul. Mark, I'm excited to dive into this. Sure, Paul has some great solo releases, but to me personally, honestly, I don't think he has put out anything solid since 2005. And I say that with all due respect, as you know, Mark, he's my favorite Beatles. So I'm excited to dive into this album and see what he sounds like, especially manning all the instruments here and really just taking care of everything. So I'm really excited about it, Mark, and I can't wait to listen to it.
Did he do the Stevie Wonder style? Blindfolded, he played every instrument?
I think so.
Oh, cool. Well, listen, that's it for us and 2020. Hopefully you're out there safe and sound. This has been our inaugural season. Thank you so much that's what we're calling it, right? Thank you so much for listening. Please tell your friends about all the outlandish things we said and did. Like us, rate us, review us, throw us a heart, throw us a bone, whatever you got. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe and ciao.
Yeah, happy holidays, pal.